Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the best 3 baits for April bass fishing. We're about creeping up on April here already, which is amazing to me. It seems like spring flew by, but we're getting into the prime time of bass fishing up here in the Northeast. April, May, and even early June, favorite times of the year to fish up here. There are so many fish biting, and you'll be able to catch a ton if you check out these 3 baits that I got right here. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. So the same baits from March will also work in April depending on your water conditions, clarity, temperature, stuff like that. But in April is really when I'm going to start changing my bait selection from the past 3 months, January, February, March baits, those like winter time kind of baits, the slow moving baits, stuff like that. We're finally going to break out some search baits and get to fish the way that I like to fish, covering water, power fishing, and catching some big bass up shallow. So the first one I'm going with is absolutely going to be a crankbait. April is prime time crankbait for me, even up on Lake Erie for smallmouth bass. Down here around the lakes by my house in Pittsburgh here, I'm fishing a crankbait on shallow rocks and wood. That is going to be my go-to. There's a couple selections that I like, and I did a video previously on different types of crankbaits you like to have this time of year, and I'll link it at the end. But my go-to this time of year, if I got colder water in that like 48, even 45 degree range up into like the 50, low 50s, mid 50s, I'm going to go with a flat-sided bait. This is the Lipless Garage crankbait. That's going to be the one that I go with. I like to fish shallow. Even though that water's cold, there's still going to be fish that start moving shallow. So I'm going to go with the flat side when the water's colder, or cleaner water so it doesn't have as much vibration. It's a little more natural. And then if we have a warmer spring or we have some sunny days, the fish start to get up shallow, the water starts warming up, and everything starts to get a little bit more active, that is when I'm going to go to a square bill crankbait. It's going to have a little bit wider wobble, but it's going to come through the cover a little bit more effectively. A lot of these fish are going to hang tight to laydowns up shallow. They're going to hang out there, get some sun. They're waiting for the water to get to the prime time temperature in May. That's when they're going to make their move and start spawning. But for now, the females are heating their eggs up. The males are just up there trying to get warm and trying to get some food. This is going to come through the cover a lot more effectively. And then as for my color choice this time of year, a lot of times we're going to have some dirty water, which I talked about in a previous video. I'm going to go with some bright colors, whether it's this black and red color, really bright colors, they stand out, or a chartreuse black back is also a good contrasting color. It stands out this time of year. Those are going to be my go-tos. And then a couple other colors that you always have to have with you, no matter what kind of conditions you're fishing. If you have a little bit cleaner water, this crawdad color from Rapala is an awesome one. It's like a toned down orange with some black. That one works really well. And then any type of natural shad or bluegill color works really well if you have cleaner water, or if you don't have shad in your lake. The bluegill colors would work really well to draw some fish in on those type of colors like that. So got to have a crankbait tied on, if not multiple, throughout April. You'll be catching fish on it all month long. This is prime time crankbait fishing. My next pick for April bass fishing, we're finally going to have some grass growth. Even if it's really low, short stalks of grass, those fish, if they have living grass, are going to flood to it immediately. Or leftover grass from last year, any of that stuff, they're going to go right to that grass and they're going to hang out until it's time to spawn. Oftentimes, those either are the spawning flats or they're right next to them. So they'll hang out there, get some food, the bluegills will be heavy in there, and then they will head to the bank once it's time to spawn. Most effective way and favorite way to catch them is going to be on a chatterbait. This also works around the wood too, so it's kind of a do-all bait, and that's why I kind of have it on pretty much all of April. I've caught them around wood, I've caught them around rock on it, but most importantly, I fish it around the grass, and it's very effective, draws them in from a distance, and if you choose the right trailer with this, it is the equivalent of a flat-sided crankbait coming through the grass. So what I will do is put a Yamamoto Zaco on here. It has a very tight wiggle. With this blade, it still has the vibration to draw the fish in, but the whole thing has a very tight wiggle to it, and that tight wiggle imitates what the tight wiggle of a flat-sided crankbait would do. I've caught fish down as low as 42 degree water temperature on a chatterbait just because of that setup right there. So that's what I'm going to go with. As for color selection, I keep it really simple. I like a green pumpkin. Always have to have a green pumpkin with you. Especially early spring, those fish are feeding heavily on bluegills. If you have clear water, a green pumpkin is hard to beat. And then I always like to have a little bit of red in my bait. So this is the Heights Hot Crawd jackhammer chatterbait. It just has a little bit of red at the bottom, but it is overall a green pumpkin base. So it still looks natural, but if you have a little bit stained water, that red pops a little bit and it can draw them in. It has that contrast you need. And then if you have some really muddy water, I will either go with a black and blue. That is always a good color. That even works in clear water as well. It just has a natural presence, a shadow-like appearance, and can imitate anything. And the white and chartreuse for the dirtiest of water. That thing is like a beacon. They will find that from a long way away. And the key with fishing a chatterbait in April like this is to use a very slow retrieve. We're using that finesse trailer that has the tight wiggle. We're also going to have a very slow retrieve, almost dragging it on the bottom so that it's not moving too quickly. A lot of times the grass is going to be short, so you don't need to reel it really fast to keep it over the top of the grass. So you reel it slow, you get it down in the grass, and the biggest key is to make contact with the grass and rip it free. You will get more bites just by making it contact and rip it free and creating a reaction bite than you will just reeling it in slowly this time of year. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because the water's so cold that not always they're going to feed on everything that goes past. But if you snap it out of their face, they just react out of instinct, and that's what gets you more bites. In the colder water of April, especially early April until we start getting to the warmer end of the month, that's the key to getting more bites on a chatterbait this time of year, more than anything else. You can even pick a different trailer. As long as you're making contact with the grass and snapping it free, you're going to get more bites than you would compared to somebody else just casting it out and reeling it in. And my last and my favorite bait to throw for April bass fishing, I have had some of my best days ever pre-spawn bass fishing with this lure right here. It catches more bass than probably any other bait for me in April. That's going to be a lipless crankbait. Specifically if you have grass. You got to find some grass to do this. Just same places you're going to throw the chatterbait, it'll work. You can throw this around the same cover on the bank like laydowns and stuff as you would the crankbait, but this will tend to get snagged a little bit easier, so that's when I'll go to the crankbait instead. But if you can find some grass, specifically pond fishing, when I used to live up at school in college and couldn't take my boat with me, I'd get out early April, find a warm sunny day where the water's going to heat up because those ponds are very shallow. Find some that have a little bit of grass in it and go burn a lipless crankbait as fast as you can through that water sometimes, and it will get them fired up. If they won't eat it burning through the water, reel it slow like that chatterbait, make it make contact with the grass and snap it free, and you'll get reaction bites. But there is something about a lipless crankbait in the month of April that catches so many bass. It is absolutely one of my favorite baits, and it has the flat sides just like a flat-sided crankbait, so it'll work in some pretty cold water. Or like I said, if you're pond fishing, you can do this. I've done it even in March, late March, because you get a very warm sunny day. It'll heat those ponds up really fast, up into like the 55-degree range because it's such a small body of water. Fish will get very active for like a couple days, and then you'll have a cold spell. It'll knock them back to what they were before. But if you can time it right on a warm sunny day or the day or two after, you can tear them up on small ponds with a lipless crankbait. When it comes to color selection, I keep it super simple. A black and red, absolute favorite color. Red, orange, whatever color you want to call it. Black with some red and orange. Favorite color for springtime. Probably one of the only ones that I throw. I have like 50% of my tackle box of lipless crankbaits is just red and orange because I love throwing it so much. And then the other color that I throw a lot of is either a solid chrome, like a chrome blueback, chrome blackback, or I like this one here. It's like a half and half gold and silver chrome. Gold works really well too on a cloudier day. Chrome will work better on a sunnier day, but I like this one. It has a little bit of both in it. Just something with some flash to it on a sunnier day that's going to draw them in, and in clearer water. Those are pretty much the only two colors I throw. I keep it really simple. I use it more to just cover water and find the fish, and I don't focus on the color as much. The bigger key to me this time of year is going to be sound. I will have two lipless crankbaits rigged up at all times. One will be a rattling one, so it has a very loud rattle like that, and that will draw the fish in sometimes. but a lot of people also like to throw this rattling one, so they hear that sound, they get accustomed to it, especially when they know that that rattle trap bite is on and everyone's throwing it. So what I'll do instead is go to a one knocker sound, and it's a much quieter sound. And I've also found that I tend to catch the bigger fish on this one here than I do over the rattling one. I catch numbers of bass on this one. You'll catch a lot of 12, 15 inchers, a lot of the males, but for some reason I think the females like that lower sound, and I catch a lot more big ones on that sound there. But I will have both rigged up. I will always have two on, and I'll alternate between the two to see what the fish like for the given day. So I hope you enjoyed today's video learning about the 3 best baits of April bass fishing. These are going to be the ones you're going to see me throwing in some upcoming videos here as we finally get water warm enough for the fish to cooperate and be able to make some videos out on the water. If you want to see what baits I like to use in March that will also work in April, go ahead and check this video out right here and leave a like down below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any more of my fishing videos coming up.